As frozen earth holds determined seed, this sacred space holds our weariness, our worry, our laughter, and our celebration. Let us bring seed and soul into the light of thought, the warmth of community, and the hope of love. Let us see together, hear together, love together. Let us worship.
Chocolate, 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 chocolate,
white chocolate, Hershey's chocolate, Nestle's chocolate, German chocolate,
Belgian chocolate,
chocolate chips,
chocolate cookie,
chocolate trifle, chocolate mousse, chocolate pie, chocolate bars, chocolate bar,
Godiva, Cadbury's,
chocolate covered almonds, cherries, chocolate dipped strawberries,
chocolate brownies, chocolate fudge,
chocolate cheesecake, chocolate crunch,
chocolate sauce, and chocolate cake, chocolate auction next week.
It is so good to be back worshiping with you again after my month of leave. It was truly wonderful also to have a month of leave in the middle of the church year. My family and I enjoyed traveling to Chile and hopefully brought back a little warmth, at least in our hearts, to face this winter's cold. I'm really grateful to this congregation and to the very able ministerial leadership of our student intern, Eric Resley, over the last month, as well as the pulpit presence of our religious education director, Robin Barraza, and our membership and RE coordinator, James Terry. They did such a wonderful job, and I am really grateful to them and to this congregation for welcoming them in my absence, so thank you. This morning begins our annual stewardship drive, which is a time for celebrating and acknowledging the many ways that this community is flourishing. It is really flourishing. A time for reflection on how far we've come and how far we have yet to go in building the congregation and the world that we dream about. So as we deepen into worship this morning, I invite us to take a few moments, instead of my words, listening to the words of our own hearts, to hold in your heart a moment that you have felt a deep connection with this place, within this community. And if you're a newcomer among us, lift up a moment of connection that you might wish for, a yearning that brought you here. Whatever that deep connection is, real or yet to be realized, let its power rise up in you. Take in a deep breath. Release a full exhale. Let your body and spirit enter into this hour. Be fully yourself in this space. Bring space into the fullness of you. Let your source and your destiny draw near. Let our hearts be gathered in worship. Having connected with our heart's deep yearnings for connection, our reading this morning calls us out of ourselves into the demand beyond us. The reading this morning is from the book attributed to the prophet Isaiah, these being the words spoken by God to the prophet.
Shout it aloud, do not hold back. Raise your voice like a trumpet. Declare to my people their rebellion, and to the descendants of Jacob their sins.
Day after day they seek me and delight to know my ways, as if they were a nation that practiced righteousness and didn't forsake the ordinance of their God. They ask of me righteous judgments. They delight to draw near God.
Why have we fasted, they say, and you have not seen it? Why have we humbled ourselves, and you have not noticed?
Look, You serve your own interest on your fast day and oppress all your workers. You fast only to quarrel and fight and strike with a wicked fist. Such fasting as you do today will not make your voice heard on high.
Is this the kind of fast I have chosen, only a day for people to humble themselves? Is it only for bowing one's head like a reed and for lying in sackcloth and ashes? Is that what you call a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? Is not the fast I choose to loose the bonds of injustice, to undo the thongs of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to break every yoke?
Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see the naked, to cover them and not to hide yourself from your own kin? Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up quickly. Your vindicator shall go before you. The glory of God shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and your God will answer. You shall cry for help, and he will say, "Here I am."
If you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speeding of evil, if you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall rise in the darkness, and your gloom shall be like the noonday. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your needs in parched places and make your bones strong. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water whose waters never fail. Your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt. You shall raise up the foundations for many generations. You shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to live in.
I once did think on winter days some very unusual things, that the birds flying south were happy hearts floating gently on their wings, and the icicles up above my door were sparkling glass that rose up from the floor. The snow that fell to earth without a sound was glittering cotton piled high upon the ground. I thought that there were angels speaking to me from above, when it was just my mother whispering me her love. And the crackling fire that burned so hot and wild was the love that my parents gave to me, their child.
Nothing like being away for a month to make a person realize how very much can happen in the world in the span of a few weeks. I left Milton for Chile in late December with a light dusting of snow on the ground and nothing extraordinary in the news, and returned 3 weeks later to 2 feet of snow and a nation reeling from a tragic shooting in Arizona. A week later, Egypt erupted into turmoil, and along with it, several other Middle Eastern and African nations. How amazing, how dangerous, how unpredictable the world feels at this time in history. Last Monday evening, I sat with my 8-year-old son, Kian, and watched the news hour to see the events in Egypt unfolding. Kian was full of good questions, trying to get his mind around all that was happening. So many good questions, in fact, that Gwen Eiffel could barely get a word in edgewise. Every few seconds there was another one. Why are they so upset? Who started the protests? Was it one person, a group of people? Why now? Why did they wait so long? Why didn't they wait longer? This is all going to make things change for the better, right? Right? The litany was long, and not a single question had a simple answer. Gwen was not helping me out a bit. As we watched and talked, I had a profound moment of déjà vu. I was exactly his age, and it was exactly this time of year when I watched the televised news of a revolution with my own father from inside Iran, where it was happening. Everyone I knew was glued to the unfolding of those events. There was a long, collectively held breath, a sense of excitement so deep it reached your socks, even as we worried for our safety and the death toll mounted. My 8-year-old mind did not understand what made up the liberal and conservative factions of the struggle, or the fact that they were united in the conviction that the reign of Mohammad Reza Shah had to come to an end. What I knew, emotionally much more than intellectually, was that everyone was agitated. Something big was about to happen in the world that was going to change us all. In the case of Iran, that moment of excitement and shared purpose, that momentum lasted only until the arrival of the exiled Shia cleric Ayatollah Khomeini, who would take power and, as you know, transform Iran into the Islamic Republic, in spite of the fact that a huge part of the tide of the revolution were moderates who yearned for democracy. So when Kian asked if things were going to change for the better out of all of this, very clearly wanting a comforting, "Yes, son, it will," I couldn't in good conscience tell him it would. What I could say was that there were a lot of people all around the world hoping that it would, and that by speaking out and demanding a change, something would move among the people that could allow for greater justice, for truer freedom, for deeper stability to come to light. What I could say was that their collective action would make a difference, no matter how things finally came out. Their courage and their conviction mean the world. No matter what time the people choose, the fact that they are willing to move things forward with their very lives is always a sacred moment. When it comes to creating the world that we want, to claiming the power to shape it and move toward the lofty ideals that roll so inspiringly off the tongue, we humans don't have it figured out yet. We've often managed to confuse our own desires for power and recognition or wealth with the true demands of justice. We really seem helpless over this, don't we? But in those moments when we are challenged to put on our lives fully in line with our values, to do so with the faith that it matters and the hope of the best outcome, the world does move. We know that we're lucky not to be personally in the swirl of complete political upheaval at this moment in history. Whatever our discontent might be with the ways of things in our nation, wherever we fall on the political spectrum, I think we can agree that being in that place of chaos with no clear outcome is not only exciting and energizing, it's terrifying as well. Braving the driving on snowy roads this week has been more than enough excitement for me. I don't know about you. But our privilege and our freedoms carry with them the responsibility of their own. Our participation and our action matter right here as well. In a world in as much turmoil as ours is, we face the same questions as religious people that were presented to the Judeans by Isaiah in this morning's reading. How do we take our desire to be of genuine service, to serve God, to serve the good, and make it more than pretty music and stirring words on a Sunday morning? How do we create out of this gathering, this community, a connection to a greater call that abides no matter who is the ruler of our nation or what our political leanings? It's really not enough, says the Torah, to claim you want to be good and serve, to crow about beauty and truth and freedom and revel in how you find them in your life. And believe me, it's disappointing news to me that that's not enough. It's not enough to engage in the practices of faith, like fasting, in order to show others that you're doing it, in order to look good, to say that you belong to a church. Unless it's making a real claim on you, it is not true faith. Unless it's making a claim on us, we are not being changed. And it's a funny thing. The world can't change if we aren't changed with it. The call toward justice has been clear for centuries in many different scriptures. This morning's scripture reading dates back 2,500 years, and yet it still hasn't been realized. I'm pretty sure it's not because it's obscure and indecipherable. Remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil. Offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted. How do we ask ourselves and each other to move past the point of personal comfort into the real place where we have to dig deep and unseat our own lives? We've been daring to make some bold dreams together as a church community this year. We've embarked on the leap of faith journey with our denominational colleagues, some companions from other congregations around the nation. And we're challenging ourselves to take what we have learned over the years, and you might say centuries, of being together as a religious community, to shape it into a bold mission to serve the world beyond us. We want to share the good news of our faith with friends and neighbors, have more people join us on the journey, but most importantly, we want to be about living this faith in an aching world. We've reached that point where we've heard the prophet's admonishment to not settle for a quiet church that serves only its own members and is afraid of asking too much of each other. We're learning to ask each other more and more for full presence, full commitment, full passion in service of the greater good we all yearn to make real in our world. In a world that would have us divided, crammed into narrow ideologies and backed into intractable positions, into Michelle Bachmann or Rachel Maddow, Glenn Beck or Keith Olbermann, our faith tells us we need not think alike to love alike. In the midst of a culture whose entertainment comes from vitriolic banter and violent overtones, our faith responds, we come from a single source. Each person we encounter calls forth from us spiritual acts of kinship, especially if they seem nothing like us at all, and we seriously doubt their ability to love as we do. In a world where the desire to damn others has become an excuse to perpetuate injustice, our faith responds, we are bound to the same salvation. What befalls one of us befalls us all. There is no other, no over there. We are all in this together. We've begun together to acknowledge that if our faith is to be more than a coffee shop with live music and readings on Sunday mornings, we have to learn to live with the profound truth of those ideas and to practice them every day, convenient or not. Perhaps especially when they're inconvenient. And we're called into partnership with each other as we do so. We know that there are lots of places you can go in the world to believe what you want, to hear some thoughtful commentary, to even meet like-minded people who are as concerned as you are about how to raise morally responsible children who are capable of spiritual exploration. But only in a church like this one, will you be asked to come with all of yourself to that journey, to make a gift not just of your money, but of your life. Only in church will you be surrounded by other people as terrified of that journey as you are, all of whom possess the wisdom and the courage to do it, as long as they don't have to do it alone. Now, because this is the annual Sermon on the Amount, I need to say out loud, that joke never gets old. That's great. I need to say aloud what you already know. We can't achieve any of the hopes and dreams we have for this congregation or this congregation's work in the world without a solid financial partnership among us. For decades, we have managed to slip by with budgets that meet only our own needs. The buildings are cared for. We have regular worship services. We have a religious education program. And even that has been heavily subsidized by our endowment, by ancestors to whom this congregation was so important that they wanted to ensure its vibrant future. The charitable work we've done here through the Milton Residence Fund and the Martin Swift Charities, supporting people in need in the town of Milton, has also been the fruit of past generations' open hearts. We've been doing, my friends, as the people of Judah were doing. We've been making a show of our ideals of justice in the world, but all we've really been willing to support is ourselves. Our participation in caring for one another is stellar within this congregation, but our track record at showing up for social justice projects is spotty. We know that we can do better. We've acknowledged that, and we're willing to work harder. We need a true and real devotion among us to giving past the point that it hurts and into the place where it feels like the best and most right thing to do in the world. I can't tell you what that is in terms of dollars and cents in your life. I can't tell you what's the right amount of time for you to give or what gifts you can bring. I can tell you that nothing that makes a bold claim on you could be represented by a figure that you don't notice coming out of your monthly or your annual budget. It just can't. You got to notice it for it to be real. It should also be present enough in your life, in your participation in and with the people of this congregation, in your own commitment to spiritual growth in relationship, that you're never far from the reason that it has put that claim on you. Church, of course, is here for us in the times that we can give a lot and the times that we can give only a little. So if you're feeling your throat close up with anxiety over how in the world you'll put food on the table in the coming week, please consider this congregation a place of support to which you can turn, always, in any season. And if you're not in that position, know that someone in front of you or behind you, perhaps in the pew next to you, certainly in the community around us, is in that position. And stretch yourself a little more to make sure that their needs are met. We're walking together into this uncertain future in a tumultuous world. And we need to be able to make our efforts all in, not partial gestures, but big steps, full dreams. That means we need to show up with all of our hopes and all of our sorrows and all of our celebrations and all of our anxieties and weave them into grand prayers for healing and wholeness. They say that it's money that makes the world go around, but really it's people moving together in common purpose. If the market is the value, the purpose that people put themselves behind, then it's true. The money is all there is. But if we put our money behind people power, behind the values of justice and compassion, and the need for us to work together, the world could turn a whole different way. The rewards are as clear as the warning in the Torah passage. If you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil, if you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall rise in the darkness and your gloom be like the noonday. Yahweh will guide you continually and satisfy your needs in parched places and make your bones strong. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water whose waters never fail. Your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations. You shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to live in. I ask you, who doesn't want to see that? Let us make it so. Let us make it so together. Amen.
So a guy goes into a bar. And he says to the bartender, set up 7 shots of tequila. In fact, make them all doubles. So the bartender proceeds to set up 7 shots, doubles, and the guy drinks them one after another till they're gone in no time. Bartender looks at him and says, geez, fella, you kind of drank those kind of quickly. Guy says, well, you drink them fast if you had what I got. And the bartender says, well, what do you have? And the guy says, I have $1. So we have many things at First Parish that we enjoy, but we have to pay for them. So please, as today during the offering, give generously. And if you have not made your pledge for the annual gift, when you do so, give generously then too. Thank you.
A new way, my friends, out of hopes and the joy of being together, out of the prayers we walk and sing and shout together, out of the gifts of spirit and sustenance we offer this community. Let us go out in joy for the ways we have been held here and find strength to live our good news in a bruised and hurting world. Let us return to walk together into bolder prayers and stronger action, to make ourselves and our world whole, that everywhere might be Eden once again. Go in peace.